Today I want to take a moment to do a review of my stainless CZ75B. Now when I do a review, I like to stick pretty much to the 4 F's. I discuss form. When I discuss form, I talk about the aesthetics of the gun, how well it's put together, is it tight, etc. Then I talk about function. With function, I talk about how well did it perform at range, was it reliable. I also talk about how easy does it carry, etc. Then I talk about flaws. Flaws is where I go over anything that I don't like about the gun or something that I find that's inherently wrong with the gun, etc. And then for the last F, I give my final impression of the gun overall. So let's get started. Now before we get into the review here, let's just make sure everyone is aware that this is a CZ75B pistol. This is a 9mm double action, single action gun, and this is the all stainless version. These are not the grips that come on it. These are grips that I added. It came with rubber grips. It does have a safety and can be carried in single action mode with a safety locked, or it can be carried in double action, single action mode. All right, first let's talk about form. As far as form goes, this gun is beautiful. The aesthetics of the gun, it's very sleek, it's very nice looking gun, especially in the stainless. Now I've always avoided CZs in the past. I thought they were kind of a third tier gun, but after seeing this gun and hearing from a lot of people that own CZs how great of a gun they really are, I decided I would try this one. Now as far as the aesthetics go, like I said, that may be subjective, but I find this gun to be very beautiful. It kind of harkens back to a golden age of semi-auto guns. It just has a very elegant and timeless look to it, and I'm really fond of that look, especially in the stainless steel. Now, as far as build quality and everything is concerned, it's really well put together. The gun is very solid. There's nothing loose, there's nothing rattly, shaky, etc. about the gun. It is really well put together and it shows. People really took the time to assemble this gun properly, to fit this gun properly, and it really pays off in the end. Now, one thing I will say about the CZs is the controls are a little big and chunky. It's one of the things that always turn me off about them. Now, on the two-tone guns, these really stand out because they're black on a gray gun or a silver gun. Now, on a black gun, they don't look so bad because they blend in. And on the silver gun, the stainless gun, they look really good because they blend into the stainless. So on this gun, I don't mind them so much. Okay, now we come to the function part of the review. Now, this is where I would normally show you some footage of me at the range shooting the gun. But the two ranges I go to now, one of them allows me to film, one of them doesn't. And unfortunately, I tested this gun at the range that doesn't allow me to film. So you're going to have to settle for this dramatic reenactment of me actually firing the gun. Well, actually, that's not that dramatic of a reenactment. That's pretty true to form. About the only difference is that wasn't the actual range that I shot at. That's about the only way you could tell that wasn't the actual footage. But, all monkey business aside, the gun performed flawlessly. I'm not the greatest shot in the world, but I tested this thing off the bench, and it does wonderfully. It is a tack driver. I allowed other people to shoot it. It is just a very accurate gun. I also put a couple hundred rounds of various different types of ammo through it. Range ammunition, carry ammunition, even some reloads, and it did really, really well. Didn't have a single hiccup, ate everything I fed it, didn't seem to dislike any ammunition I gave it. It also handles really well. The gun is very well balanced. I mean, it's a heavier gun. It's a 9mm gun in all stainless steel. So recoil is very light, just like you would expect. But it's not as heavy as you might think. In fact, this gun weighs about the same as my SIG P226, which has an aluminum frame. Almost identical weights. So it's not as heavy as you might think, but it still handles recoil very well. And because it's not as heavy as you might think, it carries very well also. Now, I carried this gun outside waistband in a belt slide holster for just under 2 weeks, and I'm going to say it carries very well. Now, it is what it is. You can't reinvent the beast here. It is a full-size gun. If you're used to carrying full-size guns, you're going to think, wow, this gun carries very easily. It's got a nice slim profile. It's not as heavy as you would expect it to be. But if you carry a C-Camp regularly, you're going to be like, wow, this is a big stainless steel brick on my belt. But for what it is, it carries very well. Now let's discuss flaws. There are a few flaws with this gun. Some of them are really minor, like they do use some roll pins in a couple of places here. I'm not a big fan of visible roll pins, but that's still very minor. Doesn't really offset the look of the gun at all. It's just a little pet peeve of mine. And like I said, the controls are a little bulky. So that bothers me a little bit that they're a little bulky, but still, once again, very minor problem there. Now, one flaw of the gun that I find that, is kind of a personal preference, but when you carry the gun in single action, you can carry it like a 1911. You can carry it cocked and locked like a 1911. But it's also made that you can carry it in double action, single action, hence the B in 75B. That is because it has a firing pin block, which means it can be carried double action with the hammer down. But there's no decocker. There's no decocker on this gun. You can't decock it. To carry it hammer down, you actually have to pull the trigger and release the hammer manually. That's not a great thing if you're going to lower it on a live round. So if you're going to be doing that, do it over a clearing bucket. That's why I keep my clearing bucket in my garage. So if you're going to carry it hammer down, make sure you got some place to do that safely. Now the biggest flaw of the gun is one that I had a little bit of problem with, and after reading up on the internet, it seems to be a flaw a lot of people notice, but it seems like people can overcome it quite easily with a little practice or actually just getting used to the gun. But that flaw was that the slide rides inside the frame instead of outside the frame. So when I'm trying to rack it, I keep finding myself grabbing too much gun and can't get the slide to come back. I have to grab less of the slide because you don't have as much room there, you don't have as much real estate to actually get a grip on it with. So that is a little bit of an issue for me because I'm just not used to it. Now, a lot of people say that was a problem for them when they first tried it, but they got over it, they got used to it, and it wasn't a problem anymore. That could be the case for me, but I'm not going to be carrying this gun a lot, so that really isn't a big concern to me. But if you are going to carry it, that's probably something you should consider. Now, one thing I will mention as a flaw, which is more just a personal preference, is that it has the safety. Now, this can be carried in single action, cocked and locked. If you're carrying it in single action, you're definitely going to want the safety on it. But if you're like me and you want to carry it double action, single action, you'd prefer this just be a decocker. But this safety being there doesn't rule out carrying this in double action, single action. The reason being, when the hammer is down and this is in double action mode, it cannot engage. You cannot physically force it into position. So that eliminates that risk of it going on accidentally while you're carrying it. And that's the big problem with safeties like this, especially big bulky safeties like this. When you're carrying them with the safety off in double action, single action mode, the safety might go on and you might not be trained to take it off in a bad situation. So that's dangerous. But since this one can't go on, you don't have to worry about that. So it's okay to carry it even with the safety in double action, single action mode. So my final impression of this gun, it's a great gun. Now, it's not an A-level gun. It's not as nice as some of the really expensive guns. But as far as production-level guns that people can afford go, it's top-notch. So if you're looking for a gun for concealed carry, home defense, or the range, this is a gun I would definitely look at, especially if you're looking for a gun in this size and weight category. Because this gun turned out to be a real winner. I guess in the end, CZ just isn't the third-tier manufacturer that I thought it was.